2024 was filled with so many amazing new experiences for me. From buying new bikes and attending brand new rallies, to riding around the mountains of Wyoming and even northern Thailand. It's pretty hard to believe that my year started like this. The good, the bad, and the ugly is a pretty great way to describe 2024 for me in terms of my riding experiences. I attended 7 different riding events in 2024. That's the most I've ever done since I started riding motorcycles. I started off the year with Todd Zacker's sand training. That was the 2nd time that I've taken that training, and it's super worth it. Highly recommend you check it out. I followed that training up the next weekend by competing in my first ever rally race, Sandblast. After that, we hit some of the usual suspects. I started off with Soggy Moto Fest, Blackwater Adventure Rally, finally managed to make it to the Shenandoah 500. We did Todd Zacker's Fall Nav Rally for a 2nd time, and I finished in 2nd place, which was super awesome. And we rounded out the year with the first ever Chili Willy weekend, put on by the Wyoming Adventure Riders and Moto Camp Nerd. On top of the riding events, I managed to get some really cool trips in too. I ended up in Wyoming for work in August, and I had the opportunity to rent an Africa Twin for a day and ride around in the mountains out there, and I took advantage of that. I ended up riding through Grand Teton and Yellowstone National Parks. I ended up in Montana and then Idaho, and back over the mountains into Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It was such a cool ride. I wish I had cameras with me so I could actually share that experience, but you know, sometimes you just gotta enjoy the ride and not film everything. I followed that up with a truly once-in-a-lifetime riding experience. I ended up in northern Thailand riding the Mae Hong Son Loop for 3 days. It was such an amazing experience and something that I will never forget. If you're interested in checking that out, video links are in the description below for the 4-part series. And on top of all this, I managed to buy 3 motorcycles. 2, yes, I said 2, Gen 1 Kawasaki KLR 650s, and 1 that you're gonna hear about in my next video. Now, while there were all these super awesome riding experiences, I did end up with some really unfortunate situations this year. I mentioned that I competed in my first ever rally race this year. Sandblast is a race in Chesterfield County, South Carolina. It consists of 9 different stages over 1 day. Sandblast has motorcycles, rally cars, and even side-by-sides. It's honestly a really cool event. And throughout the weekend before, where I was doing sand training, a lot of the people there were getting practice in before Sandblast. And I decided to do some of that too, because I was like kind of interested in doing it, but on the fence. Well, the registration deadline happened to be that Sunday. And, you know, after a weekend of riding around in the sand, I was still a little hesitant and a little reluctant, but I registered for it. I ended up coming down a little early the next week to get some more practice in before the race. Got to meet some new awesome people that I'd be competing with, and was trying to mentally prepare myself. One of the things I did was set a pace goal for myself, because I wanted to be able to average like 35 to 45 miles an hour through this race. You know, doing that in deep sand is kind of scary. You know, it doesn't sound like you're going that fast, but it's kind of fast. And the cool thing is, as I was progressing through the different stages, I was getting closer and closer to that speed goal. And I kind of, you know, by the time I came around to stage 6 there, had pretty consistently been averaging about 40 miles an hour, which was super duper awesome. Until I hit a section and my worst nightmare became my reality. I ended up high-siding my bike at 40 miles an hour. I flew straight over the bars. I landed right on my left shoulder and split my collarbone clean in half. From there, the bike ended up landing on top of me, and bruised a bunch of ribs. Thankfully, it didn't break any. You know, the gear I was wearing definitely did its job, but I had been so worried about injuring myself during that race that it kind of got willed into reality. Now, 4 months and 1 surgery later, though, I was back on the bike again for Soggy Moto Fest. But I was actually on one of those KLR 650s I was talking about before. That thing is absolutely beautiful. It's a 1995, and it has the Malibu Barbie colors. I was so excited to ride that bike during this rally, and honestly, it performed so well for me. It handled everything beautifully, and it lived a fantastic last 250 miles. As I was rolling into the gas station right at the end of the ride, nice long day, a lot of miles, the engine just died on, and I couldn't get it started again. And unfortunately, after the first day, I was done riding. I ended up figuring out after I spent some time with a friend and we pulled everything apart, the top end was not getting enough oil, and unfortunately, it literally just cooked itself alive. At least it died on me in one of the best possible locations. So I ended up buying a second KLR to replace that first one. We swapped over all the plastic and some of the upgraded parts onto this new KLR that I had bought, which had an upgraded suspension on it, so it was a little easier to move plastics and everything over than it was to completely tear apart the suspension and move it over to the original bike along with the engine. And honestly, after that entire ordeal, I decided I really didn't like that bike anymore. So I ended up, after Thailand, buying another bike. But as I said before, you're gonna hear about that in a different video. Throughout all of my experiences in 2024, I had a few lessons that I kind of learned along the way. And, you know, I feel like there's always something more you can learn, which is one thing I really love about life. But one of the big things that I realized this last year was take every riding opportunity that you get, no matter how crazy it may seem. I was kind of hesitant to ride around Thailand alone for 3 days, and I'm so glad that I just did it. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life, and I genuinely hope I get to do it again. Now, along with that, this is something that's always been true, but after racing this year and doing training this year, I realized that pushing yourself in environments that are conducive to that is absolutely something you should do. Don't be afraid to try new things, to build your skills, and to go out of your comfort zone. That's how you get better. But be smart about it. Go to a training event. Go to a rally where there's other people that can help you if something goes wrong. Don't do it alone. One other huge takeaway, and this is something that I just every year learn more and more of how true it is, and that's that our community is amazing. There's so many genuine people in the adventure riding community. I have met some of the coolest people in my life. I have met some of the most genuine and caring people in my life. And I have met some of the most batshit crazy people in my life on 2 wheels. There were so many of you this year that came up to me at rallies and told me that you came to that rally because you saw my video about it. That's so cool to me. That's one of the big reasons why I decided to put rally videos together, was so people could look at it, they could get an idea of what it's like, and they could just jump in and try it themselves. That's what I did at my first ever rally. I just went for it. And you know what? I don't regret it one bit. I walked away with more riding experience. I walked away with new friends that I still ride with at rallies today. And I walked away with a newfound love for this community and for this sport as a whole. So huge thank you to all of you for supporting the channel, and even more so, supporting the amazing events that our community puts on. Now that we're moving into 2025, there's a couple things that I kind of want to focus on for myself, And one of the big ones is pushing my limits, honing in my skills, and just overall jumping into new riding experiences that will make me a better rider overall. I crashed during Sandblast. I broke my collarbone. I'm registered to race Sandblast again in 2025. I want to finish. I want to walk away from that race finishing it. I'll probably never race in the sand again. No, that's not true, because there's some desert races that I really want to try too. Oh man, no matter what, I'm going to walk away from that race a better rider because I competed in it. And that's important to me. The other big thing I want to focus on too is taking every single opportunity I have to get out on my bike and ride. This feels like an every year kind of deal. Like, you always want to ride more, you want to do more fun stuff, but looking back on it, I definitely spent a significant amount of time riding in 2024, even with my collarbone injury. And yet I still think that I could have ridden more. There's so many times that I look back at where I'm like, man, I wish I had ridden. So this year, if I get the slightest urge to hop on a bike and go ride, I'm just gonna do it. I want to get out there, I want to get way more miles, and I want to have fun, and I want to enjoy my time on two wheels. That all being said, what was your 2024 riding experience? What did you do? Where did you go? What crazy stuff happened? Did you get into a crash like I did? Leave a comment below, share your story. I'm interested in hearing it, and I know the rest of the community is too. That being said, thank you so much for your support in 2024. Thank you in advance for your support through 2025. Remember to always ride safe, and that it's all about the adventure.